Stop. One question. You're standing in the middle of a desert. No shade, no water, no life. If you tried to build a city there, how long would it last? Now the second question. What if that exact place became the entertainment capital of the world? Sounds like a joke, right? But history is basically a plot twist machine. And today on Epochlight, we're diving into the origin stories of cities that rose from nothing, despite geography screaming, yeah, good luck with that. Close your eyes. You're in the desert. Nothing but heat, cracked ground, hot wind throwing sand into your face like nature's personal insult. No shade, no water, no humans belong here vibe. Just a railroad line stretching into the horizon. And beside it, a tiny stop that looks like someone dropped a pin on the map by accident. Now imagine someone looking at that spot and saying, "We're going to build the world's entertainment capital here." In most timelines, people gently escort that person to the nearest chair, like, "Hey buddy, let's get you some rest." Because logically, who builds a city in a desert? But history loves trolling logic. Las Vegas was born exactly like this, a lonely railroad stop that turned into a city of neon, mega resorts, and non-stop spectacle. And its transformation isn't just one city's story. It's the story of cities that rose from scratch against brutal geographic odds. This isn't going to be the usual, in 19 whatever this happened kind of video. This is an origin story episode. Think of it like a cinematic universe. Every city has a beginning scene, and some of them are genuinely, wait, how? Level. And there's a twist. When we talk about old photos, engravings, paintings, and archival shots, we won't just look at them. We'll mentally reconstruct them, like AI bringing static history to life, so you can feel like you're inside the moment. Not just nice picture, but the noise of the street, the smell in the air, the movement of a crowd. Because history sticks when it's experienced, not when it's just listed. So back to Las Vegas, because this city is one of the cleanest lessons in how to build a global brand out of pure emptiness. Vegas doesn't start as some romantic, visionary founder tale. No king shows up and declares, "A city shall rise here." It's simpler. Connection. Railroad. Trade. Money. People. In the early 1900s, as rail lines expanded across America, certain points naturally became stops. Long routes, harsh heat, people need water. The Las Vegas area had small water sources. Nothing glamorous, but enough. And back then, water was basically today's charging station. You're traveling. You have to stop. If there's water, there's a break. If there's a break, there's business. First a stop, then a camp, then a few wooden buildings, then a store. Then people start thinking, wait, could we settle here? Most cities begin like that, not with a grand plan, but with small human needs. But Vegas has a problem. It's in the desert. It can't grow like a normal town. No farming, limited water, brutal environment. A standard economy won't survive easily. So Vegas hits the key question early. What are we going to sell? The answer arrives with one of history's biggest plot twists. 1931. America is deep in the Great Depression. Jobs are collapsing, money is tight, the economy is choking. And Nevada makes a move. It legalizes gambling. Yeah, basically an economic stimulus package in the most Vegas way possible. For Las Vegas, that's identity. The city suddenly has a clear message. We sell entertainment. And this is where the real climb begins, because gambling isn't just an activity. It creates an ecosystem. Hotels, restaurants, bars, shows, workers, security, service industries. When money circulates, cities grow. And Vegas gets even weirder, in a fascinating way. Around the same era, Nevada's laws make divorce easier and faster. So Vegas becomes famous not only for gambling, but also for quick divorces. Yes, really. Modern terms, relationship speedrun and life speedrun. Same bundle. But here's the thing. Gambling alone doesn't build a metropolis. A city needs two more essentials: water and electricity. Hotels need water, lights, air conditioning. In a desert, water is the final boss. That's why the next massive turning point matters: the Hoover Dam. The dam's construction brings thousands of workers to the region. Workers get paid. Paid people live. Living people spend money. Spending money grows a town. Vegas gets a direct injection of cash flow, and the dam strengthens infrastructure, power generation, and water management. Imagine trying to build a desert city, but now you have a serious energy source. Vegas's survival level jumps instantly. Picture the scene: 1930s. Dusty construction sites, metal clanging, hammer strikes, workers drenched in sweat, wind blasting sand into everything. In the distance, a gigantic concrete structure rises. And that structure is basically a switch flipping Vegas into a new era. Then comes the most iconic Vegas concept of all, the Strip. The Strip is Vegas's stage. Everything is designed to grab attention. Massive signs, neon lights, giant hotels. Because Vegas needs you to step out of your car and immediately feel something is happening here. As the Strip rises, Vegas evolves beyond a place where people gamble. Shows arrive. Live music, famous performers, an entire entertainment industry. Vegas starts selling something bigger than gambling: experience. But yes, there's a shadow side. Fast growth, huge cash flow, loose oversight. That attracts gray characters. Organized crime did seep into parts of the industry in certain eras. No need to romanticize it. That kind of money and speed pulls in bad actors. Over time, regulation increases, corporatization expands, big capital takes over, and the city enters a more controlled phase. And then we hit the modern era, the age of the mega resort. In Vegas, a hotel isn't just a hotel. It's everything: lodging, casino, restaurants, shopping, shows, entertainment, an entire mini-city inside one structure. So Vegas stops being defined by gambling alone. It becomes a factory for experiences. This is a live example of how a city becomes a brand, constantly refreshing, constantly producing new content. Vegas feels like a live service game. Every season drops new updates. New shows, new hotels, new events. The city is always patching itself. So what does Vegas teach us? If a city rises from scratch, you usually find 4 ingredients. 1. Connection. Railroads, ports, highways, trade routes, the arteries of people and money. 2. Infrastructure. Water, power, housing. Without these, it's just a dream. 3. Identity. The answer to why would anyone come here? 4. A turning point. A project, a disaster, a boom, a reform that changes the city's level. In Vegas, connection was the railroad. Infrastructure was strengthened by the Hoover Dam. Identity became entertainment and tourism. Turning points were the 1931 legalization and the mega resort evolution. But Vegas isn't alone. Other cities grew against geography too, and they help us see the formula even more clearly. So let's do a fast world tour. Amsterdam. People think romance. Canals, bicycles, soft lights. But behind that beauty is a hard truth. Amsterdam grew by fighting water. Swamps, flood threats, sea pressure. Its rise is an engineering story, and a story of collective organization. Canals aren't just pretty, they're the city's backbone. Imagine the atmosphere: damp air, footsteps on wooden docks, boats gliding slowly, a distant bell, workers hauling cargo by the harbor. Amsterdam didn't defeat water, it built a system that included it. Chicago. Chicago is rise from the ashes as a city. The Great Chicago Fire destroys huge sections. Catastrophic. But rebuilding begins. Stronger materials, new architectural ideas, the early race towards skyscrapers. Chicago becomes a laboratory for modern city building. Feel the scene. Smoke in the air, ash drifting, people quiet. Then suddenly, the sound of rebuilding. Hammers, saws, construction. The city rewrites itself. Tokyo. Tokyo's story is constant rebuilding. Earthquakes, fires, war destruction, and every time it returns more modern, more organized. Tokyo's growth is more than construction. It's transit networks, planning, technology, and the ability to manage extreme population density. Picture it. rain-wet asphalt reflecting neon, station announcements, streams of people moving fast, but in rhythm. Tokyo handles harsh reality with systems. Moscow. Moscow carries the weight of climate, vast geography, and historic transformation. It becomes a political and industrial center, and the city feels monumental. Broad avenues, powerful architecture, metro stations designed like palaces. Feel it. Cold air, your breath turning to fog, heavy stone shadows, sharp winter wind. The city constantly signals, I'm not ordinary. Now, step back and look at the big picture. Cities don't beat geography. Cities make deals with geography. Vegas doesn't quit because there's no water. It builds a model around entertainment and infrastructure. Amsterdam doesn't surrender to water. It manages it. Chicago doesn't end after fire. It rebuilds. Tokyo doesn't collapse after disasters. It designs systems. Moscow turns harshness into identity. And here's the nostalgia part. As cities grow, they gain something and lose something. Old streets disappear, human scale changes, skyscrapers cast shadows, highways slice through neighborhoods. But in return, cities gain opportunity, jobs, culture, diversity, motion. The rise from scratch story is really the story of humans normalizing the impossible, because someone always shows up and says, this place is unlivable, and someone else says, fine, then we'll make it livable. Now return to the opening scene. Desert, railroad, hot wind, a lonely stop. Today, that stop's name sits next to one of the most recognizable city brands on Earth, Las Vegas. So sometimes a city doesn't begin with a royal palace or a grand capital plan. Sometimes it begins next to dusty railroad tracks, where tired travelers stopped for water. And maybe that's what makes these stories so addictive. Even out of nothing, humans can build a world. Now, I want you to do one small thing. If you learned something today, drop a single word in the comments. City. And then tell me this. Which city's origin story should we reconstruct next? Dubai? Singapore? Istanbul? Berlin? Or a city nobody would expect? This is Epochlight, where we don't just tell history, we make you feel like you stepped inside it. See you in the next one!